Close your eyes, get comfortable, settle into wherever you are right now. The world around you can fade away. Welcome to the Lore Lodge. I'm your host, and tonight we're descending into one of gaming's most intricate and beautiful worlds. We're exploring Elden Ring, a game that has captivated millions with its sprawling mythology, its crumbling kingdoms, and its sense of profound melancholy woven into every stone and shadow. But before we navigate the ruined landscape, before we meet the demigods and the fallen heroes, we need to understand how everything fell apart in the first place. Because Elden Ring isn't just a story about what is, it's a story about what was, about order and chaos, about ambition and ruin, about the weight of trying to hold something perfect together when the very thing holding it is beginning to crack. So imagine this. Imagine you're standing at the edge of the known world. Behind you, a great cliff drops away into shadow. Before you stretches something magnificent, something impossible. A landscape bathed in golden light. Not the light of any sun you've ever seen, but something older. Something that seems to emanate from the very fabric of reality itself. This light comes from a single source. High above the earth, impossibly high, there floats an object that defies description. It looks like a ring. It looks like a throne. It looks like a vast geometrical manifestation of pure order and authority. This is the Elden Ring, the thing around which all of this world revolves, literally and spiritually. You can feel the weight of it even from where you stand. It's not a physical weight exactly. It's the weight of something so fundamentally important that its very existence shapes the reality around it. The way gravity shapes the stars. The way the spine holds up the body. The Elden Ring is the skeletal structure of this world, and everything you can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear exists within its framework. Now, let's talk about where this ring came from, because that's where our story truly begins. You see, before there was an Elden Ring, there was something else. There was the outer god, a presence so vast and so alien that the human mind can barely grasp it. This isn't a god in the way you might imagine. This isn't a bearded figure on a throne handing down commandments. This is something more fundamental, something more primordial. Think of it like this. Imagine that the universe itself is conscious. Imagine that consciousness is so vast, so utterly foreign to anything we could call human experience, that it exists almost beyond the realm of comprehension. That's the closest we can get to understanding what the outer god is. It exists beyond the lands between, beyond this world. But it sent something into this world. It sent the Elden Ring. And with the ring came a gift, or perhaps a burden. The ring came with something called the Greater Will. This is the will of that incomprehensible outer god, translated into something that the inhabitants of this world could actually follow. The Greater Will is like an instruction manual written in a language made of pure golden light. It's not spoken in words, it's felt, it's known, it's absolute. The Greater Will brought with it a concept that would reshape everything. Order. Specifically, what we call the Golden Order. This wasn't just about putting things in neat rows or making sure everyone followed the rules. The Golden Order was a fundamental restructuring of reality itself. It established a hierarchy. It created rules. It defined what was possible and what was not. And for an age, a very long age, it worked. But to maintain this order, the ring needed a steward. It needed someone who would serve it, who would embody it, who would be its vessel in the world. And so the outer god, through the greater will, chose someone who would come to be known as the Elden Lord. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Elden Lord wasn't just any figure. The original Elden Lord was someone called Marika, the Queen. And Marika was unlike anything that had come before. She was a demigod. She was blessed by the greater will itself, and she was given dominion over the lands between. Everything that you will see, everything that exists in this world, exists because Marika decided it would exist, because Marika decided it would exist. Imagine the weight of that responsibility for a moment. You're not just ruling a kingdom. You're not just maintaining a government. You're maintaining the fundamental laws of reality itself. You're the priestess, the warrior, the queen, and the architect, all rolled into one. Every decision you make ripples through the very fabric of existence. Marika understood this. She took the responsibility seriously. And under her stewardship, the Golden Order flourished. She didn't just rule the lands between. She transformed it. She created the Erd Tree. This massive golden tree that grew at the heart of the realm. It's not a tree in the biological sense. It's a manifestation, a physical representation of the order itself. The tree grew and grew until it dominated the landscape, until you could see its golden branches from anywhere in the world. Feel that golden light now. Imagine it's warm on your skin. It smells clean, crystalline, like sunlight after rain. It feels safe, stable. This is what the Golden Order represented. Stability, beauty, purpose. For hundreds and hundreds of years, for what might have been millennia, this order held. And Marika wasn't alone in maintaining this order. She had helpers. She created something called the Elden Beast. This was a manifestation of the Elden Ring itself, made flesh, if you can call it that. The Elden Beast served as the physical embodiment of the ring's will. It was the beating heart of the order, the thing that kept everything functioning. You could think of it like the brainstem of the world, essential, automatic, perfectly designed. But Marika also needed lieutenants. She needed people who could go out into the world and enforce the order, people who could protect the realm and maintain peace. So she did something remarkable. She had children, not in the traditional sense, but through the power of the ring itself, she created demigods. She poured pieces of the Elden Ring into them, pieces called Great Runes. These demigods would serve as rulers of their own domains, administrators of the order. Each demigod received a great rune. Each one was given a purpose, a domain, a place in the hierarchy. They were to be stewards, guardians, keepers of the order. But here's the problem with giving powerful beings a great rune. Here's the issue with creating demigods and telling them to maintain the order while giving them a piece of that order to hold. They started thinking about power. They started thinking about what they could do with that power. And they started thinking about what would happen if they tried to improve on the order, or if they tried to break it entirely. You see, Marika created a hierarchy, but hierarchies are inherently unstable. They're stable when everyone accepts their place, when everyone believes that the order is just and fair. But what if you're a demigod, born from the ring itself, blessed with power beyond measure, and you're given dominion over a single region? What if you start to think that maybe the order isn't fair? What if you think that maybe you should be Elden Lord instead of serving beneath one? What if you think the order itself is corrupt? That's where the cracks began to form. Small at first, philosophical disagreements, different interpretations of what the greater will wanted, different visions for how the order should be maintained. But these weren't small things. These were demigods discussing the fundamental nature of reality. These were beings powerful enough to reshape the world, debating whether the world should be reshaped at all. And then something happened that would shatter everything. Marika did something unprecedented. Something that, as far as the lore tells us, no one had done before. She shattered the Elden Ring. She struck it with her own hands, or perhaps with the rune, and she broke it into pieces. Now imagine that. Imagine you're standing beneath the Erd tree, and suddenly you feel it. A vibration, a wrongness. The golden light flickers for just a moment, and you look up and you see something impossible. A crack spreads across the very fabric of reality. The ring, that object suspended in the sky, that thing that holds everything together, splinters like glass. In that moment, everything changed. The order that had held for ages began to crumble. The pieces of the ring, the great runes that Marika had given to her demigods, suddenly became loose. They weren't bound to the throne anymore. They weren't locked in place. And every demigod realized in that instant what had just happened. The throne was open. The seat of Elden Lord was vacant. And they could try to take it. This is the shattering. This is the war that would transform the lands between from a unified realm under the Golden Order into a fractured, competing landscape of kingdoms and demigods, all vying for power. This is the event that created the world that the player enters when they begin to play Elden Ring. A world that looks beautiful and golden on the surface, but underneath is rotten with ambition, betrayal, and the desperate scrambling for power. But why did Marika shatter the ring? This is one of the great mysteries of the lore. Some say she did it out of mercy, that she saw what the Order was becoming and decided it needed to break. Others say she was corrupted, that something got into her, something that turned her against the very thing she had created. Still others say she shattered it to escape, to break free from her role as Elden Lord and claim something for herself. The truth is probably more complex than any of those answers. Marika was a being of immense power, yes, but she was also a being of flesh and bone and will. She had spent an age maintaining an order that demanded perfection. She had sacrificed herself to the role. And maybe, just maybe, she reached a point where the weight of it all became too much, where the perfect order began to feel like a cage. But the consequences of that shattering rippled outward like stone cast into still water. The demigods, released from their roles, began their wars. Godric the Grafted started collecting the limbs of other demigods, grafting them onto his own body in a grotesque attempt to become something greater. Renala retreated to her academy and focused on reincarnation magic, literally trying to bring back what was lost. Radahn, the mightiest of all the demigods, grew so powerful that he held the stars themselves in place, preventing the very fabric of fate from moving forward. And in the midst of all this chaos, the Erd tree remained. Damaged now, its golden light dimmed slightly, but still standing, still protecting something at its heart. The thing that Marika had protected all those years. The source of the Order. The Elden Beast. The thing that still held the power to make one of these demigods Elden Lord, if only they could reach it, if only they could claim it. This is the world you're about to enter. This is the landscape of beauty and ruin that awaits. The lands between are still magnificent. The golden light still shines. But now it shines on a realm at war with itself. A realm where the old certainties are gone, where might makes right, where the order that once seemed eternal has become fragmented and contested. And somewhere in the distance, you can hear the wind moving through dead branches. You can hear it whistling around the crumbling stones of what were once great fortresses. You can hear the cries of beasts that don't understand why the order has broken, why the world has become unstable. You can taste the dust on your tongue, the dust of a golden age that is slowly, surely being buried beneath the weight of ambition and war. This is where our journey begins, not with the shattering itself, but with understanding what came before it, understanding what Marika built, why it mattered, and what was lost when it fell. Because to truly understand the world of Elden Ring, you have to understand that it was once something else, that there was an order, that there was beauty, that there was beauty, that there was purpose, and that all of it, every last golden light of it, came crashing down because of the choices made by those in power. Close your eyes now. Feel the weight of that understanding settle over you. The lands between are calling, and they have a story to tell. A story written in stone and scar tissue. A story of what happens when the perfect order breaks. When the one thing holding everything together suddenly shatters into 1,000 pieces. When the Elden Lord abdicates and leaves the world to figure out what comes next. This is how a broken world came to be. Not through invasion or catastrophe from without, but through choice. Through the decision of the one being with the power to hold it all together to simply let go. And in the moment she let go, she created the space for 1,000 other choices to follow, 1,000 other ambitions, 1,000 other wars, 1,000 other wars, 1,000 other stories. Now, let's talk about what actually happened next. Let's explore the demigods. Let's see what they did with their newfound freedom. Let's understand the wars they fought and the choices they made. Because the shattering didn't just destroy the order. It created something new, something chaotic and beautiful and terrible all at once. And that something is the world you're about to explore. Close your eyes. Get comfortable. There is no rush now, no urgency, no runes to collect, no demigods to fell. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a vast and empty landscape. The sky above you is grey and featureless, neither day nor night, but something caught perpetually between them. Behind you, a doorway of golden light fades into nothing. It's the last place you remember being anything at all. Before this. Before the emptiness. You are the Tarnished. You don't remember choosing this. You don't remember being chosen. But you remember the sensation of being cast out, of being exiled from somewhere warm and safe. And that memory is the only thing that feels real anymore. When you first awaken in the lands between, you are nothing. Not a warrior, not a sorcerer, not anything at all. You are a blank slate. A canvas waiting to be painted by ambition. In the world beyond the doorway you came through, there was a place called the Lands Between. You didn't live there. You were exiled from it, cast out like a child removed from its mother's embrace. The Elden Ring was broken. That much you know. That much everyone in the Lands Between knows, in the way that a city knows it has been bombed, in the way that a body knows it has been shattered. Something fundamental has changed. Something that held everything together has been torn apart. And now, scattered across the continent, are fragments of that great ring. They are called the Great Runes, and whoever holds them holds a portion of divine power. But you are nothing. You have no runes. You have no power. You have only a body and the memory of being unwanted, and somehow, that is enough to start with. The journey that awaits you is not a simple one. It is not a path laid out before you with clear markers and guideposts. It is instead a series of choices, each one carrying weight, each one pulling you in a different direction. This is what it means to be the Tarnished. You are not chosen by the Elden Ring. You are not chosen by the Golden Order. You are chosen only by yourself, by your own ambition, by your own desire to become something more than what you are. Think about that for a moment. In most stories, heroes are chosen. They are marked by destiny, touched by some cosmic force, predestined for greatness. But the Tarnished are the opposite. The Tarnished are the ones who were cast out, the ones who were deemed unworthy. And yet, despite that, they claw their way back up. They refuse to accept the judgment that was placed upon them. That is the fundamental act of the Tarnished. Not accepting the order that was established, but creating their own. When you begin your journey in the lands between, you encounter many voices vying for your attention. There are demigods, each one holding a great rune, each one representing a different ideology, a different interpretation of what the Elden Ring should be. There is Godric the Grafted, a shambling tyrant who believes he can become great by grafting the limbs and talents of others onto himself. There is Renala, Queen of the Full Moon, who wishes to undo the very death of the Elden Ring and return to an earlier state. There is Radahn, the Star Scourge, a general so powerful he holds the stars themselves in place through sheer force of will. And then there are the others, the ones who don't directly hold a great rune, but whose ideologies shape the very fabric of the world. Maliketh, the Black Blade, who guards the rune of death itself. The Two Fingers, those strange and alien entities who speak on behalf of the greater will. Melina, the mysterious woman who appears to guide you, whose own goals and allegiances remain unclear until the very end. What makes the Tarnished's burden so particular, so specific to their nature, is this. They are presented with all these voices, all these ideologies, all these promises, and they must choose. They must make a decision about what kind of Elden Lord they wish to become. Will they side with the Golden Order, restoring what was broken? Will they reject the greater will entirely and forge their own path? Will they embrace the ruin that Melina offers, burning the tree and destroying everything so that something new might grow? These are not small choices. These are not the kinds of decisions that heroes are meant to make. Heroes are usually given a clear mission. They know what is right. They know what is wrong. But the Tarnished, cast out and rejected, must make these choices without the comfort of certainty. They must embrace ambition, knowing that ambition itself is dangerous, corruptible, and that the very act of grasping for power might be what dooms them. Consider for a moment the nature of exile. Throughout human history, exile has been one of the cruelest punishments. To be cast out from your homeland, to be separated from your family, to be declared unworthy of the place you came from. The ancient Romans had a concept called damnatio memoriae, or condemnation of memory, where a person would be erased from history itself. They would be cast out not just from the empire, but from the very memory of it. They would become non-persons. The Tarnished experience something similar. They are cast out from grace. In the lands between, Grace is represented by a golden light that guides blessed individuals. It illuminates their path. It marks them as chosen. But the Tarnished have no grace. They are walking through darkness, in a literal and metaphorical sense, guided only by the light they can create for themselves. This is where the burden becomes clear. The Tarnished must not only survive in a hostile world full of demigods and monsters, they must survive without the assurance that they are supposed to be there. They must become great through sheer force of will and determination, not through destiny or divine right. As you progress through the lands between, you will notice something curious about the demigods. They are all, in their own ways, tragic figures. Godric, for instance, is obsessed with becoming great, with becoming worthy of his station as a demigod. But he cannot achieve greatness through legitimate means. He is not naturally talented like his siblings. So he grafts. He takes the limbs and abilities of others and makes them his own. In doing so, he becomes something monstrous, something that barely maintains coherence. He is powerful, but only in the way that a constructed golem is powerful. There is no elegance to it, no natural grace. It is all artifice and desperation. When you defeat Godric, you take his great rune. But you also take something else. You take the knowledge that even demigods, even those blessed with divine power, can fail. You take the understanding that power without authenticity is hollow. The same pattern repeats throughout your journey. Rennala, the Queen of the Full Moon, has retreated into a state of dreamlike denial. She tends to the eggs in her chamber, eggs that are not eggs at all, but possibly the unborn children of those she lost in the past. She has given up on the waking world entirely, preferring instead to exist in a liminal space between memory and reality. When you face her, you are not fighting a tyrant or a conqueror. You are fighting someone consumed by grief, someone trying desperately to undo the past. Radahn, the Starscourge, is perhaps the most tragic of all. He was once a mighty general, a warrior of unparalleled skill. But as the Elden Ring broke and the order of the world began to collapse, he started to fail. His body began to rot. The rot is a constant theme in the lands between. It represents decay, the inevitable crumbling of order into chaos. Radahn fought against this rot with everything he had, eventually becoming so consumed by it that he had to be put down like a diseased animal. When you face him, he is not entirely in control of himself. He is a being in the process of transformation, caught between different states of existence. What emerges from encountering these figures is a particular kind of sadness. These are powerful beings, demigods, children of the Elden Ring itself, and yet they are all, in their own ways, broken. They are all struggling with something that is beyond their capacity to fix. They are all, in a sense, like the Tarnished cast adrift in a world that no longer makes sense. But here is where the Tarnished's burden diverges from that of the demigods. The demigods were raised in a broken world. For them, the chaos and the corruption and the struggle are simply the normal state of things. They have never known anything better. So when they grasp for power, when they attempt to become Elden Lord, they are doing so from a place of habit and expectation. They are trying to be what they think they should be. The Tarnished, on the other hand, are attempting something different. They are attempting to define themselves not based on what they were told they should be, but based on what they choose to become. This is a radically different form of ambition. It is not the ambition of those who are trying to fill a predefined role. It is the ambition of those who are creating the role as they go. Think about this in modern terms. Imagine you were told from birth that you were not good enough, that you would never amount to anything, that you did not deserve to participate in society. You are exiled, cast out. And then, years later, you are given the opportunity to return, to compete with those who were always considered superior to you, to prove that the original judgment was wrong. That is the burden of the Tarnished. That is the particular weight that they carry. They must not only be strong enough to survive, they must be strong enough to prove that the original decision to exile them was a mistake. They must become something so remarkable, so powerful, so remarkable that the world cannot help but acknowledge their worth. But there is a catch, and this is where things become philosophically complex. What if the original decision was not a mistake? What if the Tarnished were exiled because they are fundamentally ambition-driven? What if the very thing that makes them capable of becoming Elden Lord is the same quality that makes them dangerous? This is a question that the game itself seems to be asking. The greater will, that mysterious cosmic force that established the Golden Order, cast the Tarnished out. Why? The game never explicitly states this, but there are hints. The Tarnished lack grace. They lack the divine blessing that guides the other inhabitants of the lands between. This might be because they were deemed deficient, or it might be because the greater will recognized that the Tarnished possessed the capability to challenge the established order. If that is true, then the Tarnished are not exiles seeking redemption. They are threats that the established order sought to contain. And in returning, in grasping for the ring, they are not restoring balance. They are threatening the very foundations of reality itself. Consider the ending paths available to the Tarnished. They are not all the same. The Tarnished can attempt to restore the Golden Order under the guidance of the Two Fingers. This is the path of maintaining the status quo, of accepting that the established order, despite its flaws, is the best we can hope for. It is a conservative ending, an ending about accepting the world as it is, rather than trying to change it. The Tarnished can also choose the Age of Stars ending, guided by Ranni the Witch. In this ending, the Tarnished removes themselves from power entirely, allowing Ranni to take control and lead the lands between into an age without the influence of the greater will. This is a revolutionary ending, one that seeks to overthrow the established order entirely. But it comes at a cost. The Tarnished must accept that they will never truly be the Elden Lord. They will be a consort, a supporter, a witness to change rather than the architect of it. There is the Frenzied Flame ending, in which the Tarnished embraces destructive nihilism, burning away everything in a kind of cosmic reset. This is not an ending about building something new. It is an ending about destroying everything that was, in the hope that perhaps something better will grow in its place. It is the ending chosen by those who feel that the system is so fundamentally broken that the only option is to eliminate it entirely. And there is the Lord of Frenzied Flame ending. Yes, separate from the Frenzied Flame ending, in which the Tarnished embraces their own ambitious nature fully, becoming the Elden Lord in truth, putting themselves at the center of the lands between, and accepting the burden of godhood. Each of these endings represents a different answer to the question of what the Tarnished's burden truly is. Are they a hero restoring an order that was lost? Are they a revolutionary overthrowing an unjust system? Are they a nihilist seeking to destroy everything? Or are they simply ambitious beings grasping for power? Consequences be damned. What is particularly striking about the Tarnished's journey is how personal it is. Unlike many video game narratives, the Tarnished does not receive constant validation for their choices. They are not told that they are the chosen one, destined for greatness. Instead, they are told again and again that they should not be there, that they do not belong, that they are foolish for even trying. Melina, your guide, is perhaps the most ambiguous voice in the game. She guides you towards the Erd Tree, but her motivations are unclear. She claims to want to help you become Elden Lord, but in the late game, it is revealed that she has her own agenda. She carries the flame that might burn the Erd Tree. She speaks of endings that are not your own. The person guiding you is not necessarily on your side. They might be using you. They might be working towards goals that directly conflict with your own. This uncertainty, this lack of clear moral guidance, is part of what makes the Tarnished's burden so heavy. You are walking through a world alone, making choices that you cannot fully understand, guided by voices that may or may not be trustworthy. And at the end of your journey, you must face the consequences of every choice you have made. You must accept that the ending you receive is not a reward for being good or righteous. It is simply the result of the path you chose to walk. In many traditional narratives, the protagonist learns and grows as they progress. They become wise. They become virtuous. They become worthy of the power they will eventually wield. The Tarnished does not have that arc. The Tarnished becomes more powerful, certainly. They gather runes and learn spells and master weapons. But they do not necessarily become better people. They might become worse. They might become corrupted by the very power they seek. There is a particular moment in the Tarnished's journey when they stand before the Malekith, the Black Blade. Malekith is the guardian of death itself. He holds the rune of death, the very thing that allows death to exist in the lands between. When you defeat him, you do not gain a new power. You gain the ability to die. Before this moment, death in the lands between is temporary. Those who die are resurrected at sites of grace. But the rune of death changes this. It makes death permanent. It makes loss real. This is another layer of the Tarnished's burden. In becoming strong enough to take the rune of death, in defeating Malekith, the Tarnished does not gain something. They remove a restriction. They make it possible for themselves and everyone else in the lands between to truly die. This is a profound moral choice, even if it is not presented as one. By pursuing power, by pursuing godhood, the Tarnished is fundamentally altering the nature of existence itself. As you move deeper into the late game, as you approach the Erd Tree and the Throne of Elden, you begin to encounter the demigods in their most corrupted forms. They are no longer tragic figures struggling against the chaos. They have surrendered to it. Radahn has become almost entirely consumed by the rot. Rennala has retreated further into her dream. The demigods that you encounter near the end are barely recognizable as the beings they once were. This serves as a kind of warning to the Tarnished. This is what happens when you grasp too deeply for power. This is what happens when you seek to become Elden Lord without understanding the costs. You become twisted. You become corrupted. You become a shell of what you once were, a being consumed entirely by the force that you were trying to control. Yet the Tarnished must proceed. They must continue forward. They must reach the throne at the heart of the Erd Tree. And when they do, when they finally stand before the Elden Beast itself, they encounter something that defies easy description. The Elden Beast is not evil. It is not good. It is not a character or a personality. It is simply the physical manifestation of the Elden Ring itself, the force that holds all things together. When you defeat the Elden Beast, You do not defeat evil. You defeat the fundamental law of reality. You prove that you are strong enough to rewrite existence itself. And then you must choose. What kind of Elden Lord will you be? Will you maintain the status quo? Will you break the cycle entirely? Will you embrace destruction? Or will you simply sit on the throne and accept the burden of power, knowing that whatever you choose will affect countless lives? This, perhaps, is the most fundamental aspect of the Tarnished's burden. It is not a burden of destiny. It is not a burden placed upon them by the world. It is a burden that they have taken upon themselves through their own ambition. The Tarnished chose to return to the lands between. The Tarnished chose to pursue power. The Tarnished chose to challenge the established order. And at the end of their journey, they must live with the consequences of those choices. There is something deeply human about this. Throughout our lives, we are told that if we work hard enough, if we are skilled enough, if we persevere through hardship, we will eventually achieve our goals. We will be rewarded. We will find success. The story of the Tarnished challenges this. It suggests that achieving ambition does not necessarily bring happiness or fulfillment. It might bring only responsibility and exhaustion, and the knowledge that you have altered things in ways you cannot undo. And yet, the Tarnished persists. They do not turn back. They do not give up. They march forward into uncertainty, knowing that the path they walk leads to a kind of godhood that they may not even want. But they walk it anyway. Because to turn back, to accept the original exile, to accept that the decision to cast them out was correct, that would be to deny the most fundamental part of themselves. Their ambition. Their refusal to accept the world as it has been given to them. This is the burden of the Tarnished. Not a burden imposed by the world, but a burden created by themselves, carried forward through every choice, every battle, every moment of doubt. And when they finally place the crown upon their head, when they finally become Elden Lord, they do so knowing that they have fundamentally changed the world, and that this change is theirs to answer for, forever. Close your eyes. Settle deeper into wherever you are. Let your breathing slow. Imagine you're standing at the threshold of a vast cathedral. The architecture around you is crumbling, but not from age alone. No, something else has taken root here. Vines creep across every surface, but they are not green. They are the color of rust, of infection, of something that should not exist in any natural world. The air tastes metallic, even breathing feels dangerous. This is the presence of the Scarlet Rot. In the lands between, there exists a force so ancient, so fundamentally wrong, that its mere existence challenges everything the Golden Order was meant to be. The Scarlet Rot is not a simple plague. It is not a disease that spreads like plague, spreads in medieval cities, jumping from person to person along trade routes and through markets. No, the Scarlet Rot is something far deeper. It is a corruption of reality itself, an infection of possibility. And to understand how it came to infect the very heart of the kingdom, you must first understand where it came from. There was a time when the Scarlet Rot did not exist in the lands between. There was a time when the world was younger, when the Elden Ring's laws were fresher, when the Golden Order seemed absolute and unchallengeable. But the Elden Ring itself contains within it all possibilities, all paths, all outcomes, even the possibility of its own undoing. And so, in a land beyond the maps that grace the world, in the deep underground reaches that few mortals ever glimpse, something hatched. something that should never have been born. The Scarlet Rot came from an egg. You stand now in the Cathedral of the Rot, and you try to understand what you're seeing. The corruption has taken physical form here. The vines, the pustules, the writhing growth that covers every stone. These are all symptoms of something far larger. A god, perhaps, or something that aspires to be one. The rot is alive. It hungers. It spreads with the inevitability of a mathematical equation, solving itself across all available space. Think of a time when you've watched mold grow on something forgotten in the back of a cupboard. You didn't notice it happening, but one day you opened the door and found half the shelf consumed. The Scarlet Rot operates on a similar principle, except where mold eats through paper and cardboard, the rot eats through the very fabric of existence. It spreads not just physically, but conceptually. It infects minds. It warps flesh. It transforms the landscape itself into something alien and hostile. The color itself is wrong. Your eye rebels against it. Scarlet, yes, but not the scarlet of a cardinal's robe or a sunset. This is the scarlet of infection, of necrotic tissue, of a wound that has festered beyond any hope of natural healing. When you look upon areas consumed by the rot, you find yourself unable to maintain focus for long. Your mind slides away from it. There is something about it that your consciousness instinctively rejects. But rejection does not stop the spread. And this is where the story becomes truly grave. In the time before the shattering of the Elden Ring, when the demigods walked the lands between with authority and purpose, there was a princess. Her name was Radahn, though she was born with a different name before the Scarlet Rot claimed her. No, that's not quite right either. Let me step back. Radahn was born as one of the demigods, a child of Radagon and the Golden Order itself. She was brilliant, strategic. Her mind moved like a general's. Mind moves across a battlefield, always thinking several moves ahead. She commanded armies. She crushed her enemies with methodical precision. The Scarlet Rot had not yet come for her. She had not yet opened that door and let the infection in. But a general, no matter how brilliant, is still human, still vulnerable, still capable of hunger for something more than what she already possesses. Imagine standing at the edge of a chasm in the deep underground. The Scarlet Rot fills it like a sea of infection. The breath catches in your throat. This chasm goes down and down, deeper than reason suggests stone should extend. And somewhere in those depths, something vast stirs. Something patient. Something that has been waiting longer than kingdoms have existed. Radahn discovered this rot-sealed mausoleum. She descended into it, drawn by curiosity or ambition, or perhaps by something else entirely. Something that the rot itself whispered into her mind. And there, in that terrible darkness, she found an egg. A sealed prison. A thing so dangerous that it had been bound in place by some force older than the demigods themselves. What she did next, we can only speculate, but the result was unmistakable. The egg hatched, the Scarlet Rot was released, and Radahn became its host. Now, you must understand something crucial about the nature of rot. It does not work the way you might expect a disease to work in your own world. A plague kills its host quickly. That is the logic of evolution, the reason plagues burn out. But the Scarlet Rot is not bound by such logic. It is something older and stranger. It sustains. It preserves. It transforms. Radahn did not die when the rot took her. She was transformed. The brilliant general became something else. A godlike being of immense power, yes, but also something inhuman. Something that felt hunger not for conquest or glory, but for consumption itself. The rot rewired her mind, or perhaps revealed what had always been waiting in her mind beneath the surface. Consider your own body for a moment. Think about how fragile it is. How much of you is water? How easily bacteria can corrupt a single wound? Now imagine if something reached into you and began rewriting your fundamental nature. Imagine if your own cells began working against you, but not in a way that killed you, in a way that transformed you into a vessel for something vast and alien. That is what happened to Radahn. And once the infection had taken root in one of the demigods, once it had found its way into the very heart of the Golden Order's bloodline, the spread became inevitable. The Scarlet Rot moved outward from its source like ripples in water, except these ripples did not dissipate. They compounded, they accelerated. Every place the rot touched became a breeding ground for more rot. The landscape began to change. Trees that had grown for centuries withered and transformed into something grotesque. Animals that ate the infected plants became infected themselves. Entire regions of the lands between began to glow with that sickly scarlet hue. You walk now through Caelid, the region most deeply marked by the Scarlet Rot's expansion. The ground beneath your feet feels wrong. It does not feel like earth at all. It feels like flesh, like something organic that should not be solid enough to support your weight, yet somehow does. The sky overhead is not quite a proper sky. It is discolored, hazy with the spores of the rot itself. Breathing is difficult. Your lungs burn with each inhalation. The fauna of Caelid have adapted or perhaps been corrupted. The lions that once roamed these grasslands have become something else. Their eyes are vacant, mindless. Their bodies are covered in the telltale pustules and scarlet growths. They are not quite alive anymore, but they are not dead either. They are caught in a state between, sustained by the rot itself, forced to wander in endless hunger. Small flies drift through the air. Scarlet beetles. Creatures that exist only because the rot provided them a medium in which to evolve. They swarm, but they do not attack with any purpose you can understand. They simply move, drawn by something in the nature of the corruption itself. But the most disturbing thing about Caelid is not the wildlife. It is not even the hostile landscape. It is the silence. There should be the sounds of a living region. Birds, wind, the movement of water. But Caelid is quiet in the way that feels profoundly unnatural. The rot does not make sounds. It does not sing or rustle or move. It simply exists, spreading with a kind of patient inevitability. This is what happens when a force of pure corruption takes hold in a kingdom. The things that made that kingdom alive, that gave it vitality and motion, begin to disappear. They are replaced by something that mimics life without understanding it. Now, you might ask yourself, how did the rest of the demigods respond to this plague? How did they react to the knowledge that one of their own had become the vector for a disease that threatened to consume the entire world? The answer is complicated. Some responded with military force. The General Radahn, despite her transformation, remained brilliant. She remained powerful. She could not be simply defeated through conventional warfare. Others responded with isolation, sealing off their kingdoms as best they could, trying to contain the rot to Caelid and prevent its spread into their own territories. But this containment could only work for so long. The Scarlet Rot does not respect borders. It does not acknowledge the authority of kingdoms. It spreads because that is its nature, just as water flows downhill without asking permission from the rocks in its path. The infection moved slowly at first, then faster, then with a kind of exponential momentum that seemed unstoppable. Entire towns were consumed. forests withered. Even the demigods in their mighty castles could feel the encroachment, could smell the metallic taint in the air, could see the scarlet creeping ever closer to their borders. You stand now at the edge of a once thriving settlement. It is difficult to tell what it once was. The ruins are barely recognizable as having once been structures where people lived and worked and built their lives. The stone has been consumed by the rot. The buildings are slumped as if they have been half dissolved. And still, the scarlet vines continue their slow work of corruption. Somewhere in that abandoned town, there might still be people, infected people, hollowed out husks of what they once were, sustained by the rot but no longer truly alive. They wander without purpose, driven by hunger. They cannot articulate, searching for something they cannot name. This is the horror of the Scarlet Rot that goes beyond the merely physical. It does not simply destroy, it converts. It takes what is already there, the living, the dead, the landscape itself, and repurposes it. Every town that falls to the rot becomes a node in a vast network of corruption, a point from which the infection can spread further. In your own world, there are diseases that work in somewhat similar ways. Consider rabies, for instance. It does not kill its host quickly. Instead, it changes the behavior of its host, makes the infected animal aggressive, drives it to bite others, and spread the infection further. The rabid creature is no longer acting in its own interest. It has been reprogrammed by the virus itself to become a vector for its own replication. The Scarlet Rot operates on this principle, but at a scale and with a sophistication that rabies could never approach. It is like comparing a pocket watch to a cathedral organ. Both are complex, both involve many moving parts, but one is vastly more intricate than the other. And like those infected creatures in your world, the lands infected by the Scarlet Rot become agents of their own corruption. The spores drift on the wind. They settle in new soil. They take root and begin the transformation anew. It is a cycle of infection with no natural endpoint, no point at which it simply exhausts itself and dies out. Consider also what the rot does to human ambition. In the lands between, ambition is a kind of fuel. It drives the demigods to seek the Elden Ring. It drives lesser lords to wage war for scraps of power. Ambition is the engine that moves history forward. But the Scarlet Rot transforms ambition into something else. It does not destroy the desire for power. Rather, it perverts it. It makes ambitious minds hunger not for the Elden Ring, or for territories, or for prestige, but for the spread of the rot itself. It repurposes human will toward its own ends. Radahn became such a figure. She was ambitious before the infection. After, she became something more dangerous, a demigod whose raw power was matched only by her singular, incomprehensible desire to spread the corruption that defined her nature. You climb now. You are ascending through Radahn's stronghold, the Redmane castle that bears her name and reflects her legacy. The architecture is still magnificent in its way. It was clearly built by someone with strategic brilliance, someone who understood the principles of defense and geometry. But it too shows signs of infection. The rot creeps along the inner walls. Some rooms are more rot than stone. And somewhere in this castle, in chambers you have not yet reached, Radahn herself waits. The General of Redmane, the host of the Scarlet Rot, a demigod who has transcended the bounds of what a demigod should be. She is waiting not in hope that you will challenge her, but perhaps because that is what the rot has made her into. A thing that waits, a thing that grows, a thing that grows, a thing that spreads. But before you ever reach her, you must understand what she has become. You must understand the progression of the Rot's corruption, because Radahn's transformation tells you something profound about how corruption works in the lands between. It is not a simple matter of infection and death. It is a process of becoming, a slow remaking of the self into something other. The Rot speaks to those it infects. It whispers possibilities. It shows visions of a world remade in its image. And there is something seductive about these visions, particularly to minds like Radahn's, brilliant minds, ambitious minds, minds that have already experienced the exhilaration of power and dominion. Why should you remain bound by the laws of the Golden Order? The Rot whispers. Why should you accept the limitations placed upon you by the Elden Ring's design? Why not embrace something greater? Why not become the vector through which an entirely new order emerges? These are dangerous thoughts. But they are thoughts that make sense to someone like Radahn. They are thoughts that appeal to the part of her that wanted more than what she already possessed. And so she accepted the infection. Or perhaps accepted is the wrong word. Perhaps she invited it. Perhaps she recognized in the Scarlet Rot something that aligned with her own nature, and she chose to merge with it rather than resist it. The spread of corruption through the lands between is not a story of a simple plague. It is a story of temptation, of ambition meeting possibility, and choosing the darker path. It is a story that repeats itself throughout history, in your own world and in others. Power corrupts. This is something your philosophers and historians have repeated for centuries. But what does corruption actually mean? It means the alteration of something's essential nature, the transformation of something good or neutral into something harmful. The Scarlet Rot is corruption made literal. It is the principle of corruption given physical form and the ability to spread. When Radahn fell to the Rot, she did not simply become a disease vector. She became a focal point for the entire infected ecosystem of Kelid. Her power, which had been formidable as a military general, became amplified by the Rot itself. She grew larger, stronger. Her mind expanded to contain thoughts that no uninfected human could comprehend. But this expansion came at a cost. She lost herself, or perhaps she found a larger self, one that encompassed the Scarlet Rot's own consciousness. The distinction ceases to matter at a certain point. Smell it now, even as you imagine it. The metallic stench of the Rot becomes stronger as you move deeper into Radahn's domain. It is not a pleasant smell. It is the smell of decay and wrongness, of a world being rewritten according to alien principles. Your body instinctively rebels against it. Your eyes water. Your lungs burn with effort. But you persist, because understanding requires you to move closer to the things that disturb you. Understanding requires you to look at the truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable or even offensive to your sensibilities. Here is a truth that the Scarlet Rot represents. Corruption, once it takes hold, is nearly impossible to completely eradicate. You can slow it. You can contain it. You can burn it away in specific locations. But to truly remove it would require burning away the entire world and starting anew. It is too deeply woven into the fabric of the lands between now. It has been there too long. It has spread too far. This is perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Rot's existence. It is not a threat that can be definitively overcome through heroic action. It is a permanent stain on the world, a change that cannot be fully undone. Think about the implications of that. The demigods fought for the Elden Ring because they believed they could reshape the world according to their will. But the Scarlet Rot teaches a bitter lesson. There are forces at work in the world that no individual will can fully control or overcome. There are infections so deep that they can only be managed, never cured. Yet manage it, people do. Throughout history, in your world and in others, humans have faced diseases and plagues and infections that seemed unstoppable. They survived by adapting, by developing immunity, by learning to live with the threat rather than trying to eliminate it. Some settlements in the lands between survived in the shadow of the Scarlet Rot. They learned to avoid the most heavily infected areas. They developed herbs and medicines that could slow the progression of the infection in those who had been exposed. They built lives in the gaps between the spreading corruption. They did not overcome the rot, but they endured it. And in endurance, there is a kind of victory. You are standing now in one of these settlements. It is small. The walls are high. Every available surface is marked with sigils and runes meant to ward off corruption. The people here do not venture far from their homes. They trade only with other settlements that have similarly resisted full infection. They wait, knowing that the rot will never go away, but hoping that it will not grow further in their lifetimes. There is a kind of quiet desperation in this place. Not the desperation of those in immediate danger, but the desperation of those facing a slow erosion they cannot stop. It is like living on the edge of a cliff that is slowly crumbling away. You know that eventually you will fall. You simply do not know when. The sound of insects fills the air here too. But these are not the diseased scarlet beetles. These are normal insects, or as normal as anything can be in a land infected by the rot. They buzz and chirp, providing a kind of auditory reminder that life persists even in the shadow of corruption. This is what the Scarlet Rot ultimately teaches us about the nature of corruption and chaos. It does not destroy everything. It does not end the world. But it changes the world fundamentally. It shifts the landscape. It alters the terms on which life is lived. It forces adaptation. For Radahn, the adaptation was total. She became the Scarlet Rot's champion, its avatar, its physical manifestation in the world. She did not resist the infection. She embraced it. She allowed it to remake her according to its own design, and in doing so, she became powerful beyond measure. But this power came at the cost of her humanity, or perhaps at the cost of her identity as an individual. She became something larger than herself, but in becoming larger, she lost the specific details that made her herself. She became a force of nature rather than a person. It is a transformation that echoes throughout the lands between. Demigods taking fragments of the Elden Ring and becoming something other. Warriors seeking power and becoming monstrosities. The Scarlet Rot simply represents the most aggressive, most obviously corrupting version of this process. As you descend now from that quiet settlement back toward Radahn's stronghold, you feel the weight of understanding settling on you. The Scarlet Rot is not a villain in a simple sense. It is a force. Like fire or flood or famine, it is a natural phenomenon within the logic of the lands between. It has its own will, its own hunger, its own agenda. But what makes it so difficult to face is not its power. It is the fact that it makes sense. It has a logic. Those who join it, like Radahn did, are not being mindlessly corrupted. They are choosing to align themselves with something that promises them greater purpose, greater power, greater meaning. The rot whispers to the ambitious. It shows them possibilities. And for many, those possibilities seem worth the cost of infection. You are realizing something as you move through these corrupted lands. Something that terrifies and fascinates you in equal measure. The Scarlet Rot is not the enemy of the Golden Order. Or rather, it is not the enemy in the way you might expect. The Golden Order is rigid. It is based on hierarchy and law. The Scarlet Rot is chaotic. It is based on spreading and becoming. They are opposites, yes. But in the lands between, opposites have a way of being two sides of the same coin. The Rot cannot exist without the Order. The Order cannot assert itself without something to oppose. They are locked in a kind of eternal struggle that defines the very nature of the world. This is perhaps the deepest lesson of the Scarlet Rot's existence. Corruption is not something external that can be permanently defeated. It is something internal to the nature of the world itself. Wherever there is order, there is the potential for corruption. Wherever there is law, there is the potential for chaos. These are not mistakes or aberrations. They are fundamental aspects of how existence works. Radahn understood this in her way, or perhaps the Scarlet Rot's consciousness, working through her, understood it. The infection that took her was not a simple disease. It was an awakening to possibilities that had always been present but suppressed by the Golden Order's rigid laws. By the end of her transformation, Radahn was no longer a demigod trying to claim a piece of the Elden Ring for herself. She had transcended that level of ambition. She had become something that served the Scarlet Rot spreading. She had become the very principle of corruption made manifest. And as you approach her now, as you feel the heat of her presence, as you smell the overwhelming stench of the infection that has completely consumed her, you understand that defeating her is not simply about winning a battle. It is about choosing which force will shape the future of the lands between. Order or rot, stasis or change, purity or contamination. There is no perfect answer. This is the most troubling truth that the Scarlet Rot teaches. In your own world, you live with diseases you cannot fully cure. You live with entropy that you can only slow. You live with corruption in systems and in people that you can manage, but never fully eliminate. Radahn became a god of the Rot because she accepted this truth and chose to serve it. Others might choose differently. They might choose to fight against the spreading, even knowing that total victory is impossible. But the choice itself is an illusion, perhaps. The Rot will spread, or it will not spread based on forces far larger than any individual choice. Individual will matters only at the margins. The currents of history, of infection, of transformation move according to their own logic. You stand now at the threshold of Radahn's chamber. The walls are slick with corruption. The floor itself seems to pulse with a kind of alien life. And in the center of the space, suspended or perhaps merged with the very air, is Radahn herself. She is not what you expected. She is larger than any demigod should be. Her body seems to phase between states, solid and liquid, flesh and rot, individual and collective. She might be a person anymore. She might be the Scarlet Rot itself, given a shape and a face. Looking upon her, you understand fully. This is what it means to be completely consumed by corruption. Not destroyed, not killed, but transformed utterly into something that serves only the spreading of itself. It is a fate that should terrify you. And yet, there is something almost beautiful in it. A kind of terrible honesty. A refusal to cling to an illusion of individual importance in a universe that operates according to much larger principles. Radahn does not seem to notice you, or perhaps she is aware of all things simultaneously. The Rot does not think in linear ways. It does not experience time as you do. It experiences the world as a landscape of possibility, all moments occurring at once, all choices already made and unmade. You breathe deeply. The air tastes of copper and something else, something that has no name in any language spoken in your world. You are ready now, ready to face what Radahn has become, ready to understand, finally, the full cost of corruption and the seductive power that it holds over ambitious minds. The Scarlet Rot spreads. It always spreads. And that spreading is not evil in any simple sense. It is simply what corruption does, what infection does, what happens when a world contains within itself the seeds of its own transformation. Radahn became a monument to that transformation, a demigod reborn as something other, something that served not her own will, but the will of the rot itself. And in that service, she found a kind of terrible purpose, a certainty that her ambition now served something larger than herself. For better or for worse, she was no longer caught in the endless struggle for scraps of power in the lands between. She had become a force of nature herself. This is the final lesson of the Scarlet Rot. Corruption offers a kind of peace to those who surrender to it completely. The peace of having your will subsumed into something vastly greater than yourself. The peace of knowing that you matter not because of what you do, but because you are a conduit for something that transcends individual importance. It is a peace that costs everything: your identity, your individual will, your very nature as a separate being. But to minds weary of struggle, weary of the endless fighting for power and prestige in a broken world, such peace might seem worth any price. The scarlet vines grow thicker now as you retreat from Radahn's chamber. You have seen what you came to see. You have understood what you needed to understand. The Scarlet Rot is not a simple enemy to be defeated in combat. It is a principle, a force, an infection of possibility that spreads through the world like water through broken ground. And it will continue to spread. It will continue to grow. Because the Golden Order's rigid laws contain within them the seeds of their own corruption. Every order breeds disorder. Every law breeds violation. Every rule contains the seeds of its own breaking. The Scarlet Rot is simply the physical manifestation of this eternal truth. Let that settle with you as you move through the landscape. Feel the heaviness of that knowledge. The Scarlet Rot cannot be fully defeated, because corruption itself cannot be fully defeated. It can only be endured, adapted to, lived with, if you are strong enough to survive in its shadow. Close your eyes. Get comfortable. Let your shoulders drop into the pillow beneath you. Now imagine this. You're standing in a place that exists nowhere and everywhere at once, the lands between. But not the lands between of struggle or conquest or desperate ambition, not the version you know from the screams of demigods locked in their eternal competitions. No, this is something quieter. You're standing in a small garden. It's been tended, but not by hands that rush. The grasses here grow at their own pace. Flowers open when they choose to open, not because some grand design demands their bloom. Around you, the air is still. There is no wind carrying the stench of decay or rot, no distant roar of some terrible beast prowling the horizon. Just quiet. Think about what that word means, really. Quiet. How rarely do we experience true quiet anymore? In our world, in your world, silence is almost an anomaly. Even when we sleep, our phones hum, our devices whisper to us in the dark, our minds churn with the day's concerns, spinning like wheels that cannot find purchase on solid ground. But here, in this imagined corner of the lands between, there is quiet. there is space between the heartbeats. And in that space, something remarkable happens. You begin to notice things you couldn't see before. The texture of the earth beneath your feet, for instance. It's not the grey stone of a fortress or the rotting flesh of some corrupted landscape. It's soil. Real soil. Rich and dark and alive with things too small to see but whose presence you can feel. The way you might feel the presence of an old friend in a room even with your eyes closed. The Lands Between is a world built on contradiction, you know. It's a place where gods and demigods and lesser beings all exist in a state of perpetual conflict. The Golden Order promised harmony, promised perfection, promised a world where everything had its place and its purpose. But that promise was always a lie, wasn't it? Or perhaps not a lie exactly, but a dream that collided with reality so violently that it shattered into 1,000 pieces. But here, in this quiet place, you can see the ruins of that dream differently. Not as a failure, but as something necessary. Consider for a moment the nature of perfection itself. Throughout human history, civilizations have chased it. The ancient Romans believed they could build a perfect society based on law and reason. The medieval peoples believed perfection lay in perfect obedience to divine will. The Renaissance thinkers believed perfection could be achieved through the perfect expression of human potential. And in every case, reality had other ideas. Empires crumbled. Divine will proved mysterious and contradictory. Human potential expressed itself in the Elden Ring, the Golden Order. The entire cosmic structure of the Lands Between was an attempt at perfection. A grand design imposed upon a world that perhaps was never meant to be perfectly ordered. And when that order broke, when the Elden Ring shattered and the demigods began their wars, what happened was not a failure. It was a return to something more honest. You're still standing in that garden. Look around you now. Notice the broken statues half hidden in the overgrown grass. They're not tragic. They're not desperate. They're simply there. Parts of something larger that has fallen to ruin, yet the ruin itself has become a kind of garden. Nature has reclaimed it. Life grows in and around and through the cracks of what was once ordered and perfect. This is what the Lands Between teaches us, if we're patient enough to listen. Think about the concept of legacy. In the world of the Elden Ring, legacy is everything. Every demigod carries their own ambition, their own vision of how the world should be remade. Melania carries the ambition of perfection without flaw. Radahn carried the ambition of a true conqueror, holding back the stars themselves through sheer force of will. Ranni carries the ambition of freedom from the Golden Order entirely. Each of them fought and schemed and destroyed in pursuit of their particular vision. But what is legacy, really, when you step back far enough? What does it matter that Radahn was mighty, or that Melania never knew defeat, except as a tale told in a quiet garden by someone who will themselves be forgotten? Here's something strange and beautiful to consider. The Tarnished, the protagonist of the entire story, the one character whose ambitions drive the entire narrative forward. The Tarnished is someone who was never meant to matter at all. They were cast out, bereft of grace, not born of the Golden Order, not meant to be remembered or to carry any grand destiny. They exist in the spaces between legitimacy and illegitimacy, between the chosen and the rejected. Yet here they are, walking through the Lands Between, taking on the demigods, challenging the fundamental structure of reality itself. And what's remarkable is that their ambition doesn't come from some inherited right or divine mandate. It comes from somewhere deeper. It comes from the simple human desire to become, to matter, to reshape the world according to their own will. Isn't that all any of us are, really? Tarnished in some way, cast out in some way, fighting to matter in a world that rarely asks us to and often refuses to acknowledge us. But let's slow down. Let's not think about ambition right now. Let's think about rest. One of the most peaceful locations in the lands between is not a grand cathedral or a mighty fortress. It's the Siofra River. Imagine standing there with me. The river flows not with water, but with a kind of ethereal silver light. It moves slowly, without urgency. Above you, the cavernous ceiling is so high that it seems more like a sky than a ceiling. Stars, or things like stars, twinkle in the darkness above. There is music there too, if you listen closely. Not sung by any voice you can identify, but present nonetheless. It's the kind of music that makes you want to breathe more slowly, to let your thoughts drift like leaves on water. The Siofra is home to creatures. Valiant and clean-rot warriors, grave watchers, perfume bottles, and deathbirds. Yet even among all these inhabitants, the Siofra feels like a sanctuary. Perhaps it's the isolation. Perhaps it's the fact that time moves differently in the lands between than in the surface world. An entire civilization could rise and fall up there in the sunlight, whilst the Siofra flows on, unchanged and unchanging. There's a meditation to be found in that. You know, throughout the game, throughout all the struggle and the ambition and the desperate seeking, there are places where a player can rest. Literal sites of grace, scattered throughout the world like small oases of safety. They glow with a gentle light. When you sit at one, the world around you quiets. The music changes. Your character sits down and takes a breath. It's a game mechanic, technically, a way to save progress and restore health. But it's also something more profound than that. It's a recognition of the need for rest, the need for stops along the journey, the understanding that a person cannot move forward endlessly without pausing to breathe, to reflect, to simply be for a moment. In our world, we've almost forgotten this. We're taught to be productive constantly, to always be moving toward the next goal, the next achievement, the next rung on whatever ladder we believe we're climbing. Rest is something we do only when we've exhausted ourselves completely. It's a reward for suffering, not a necessity in itself. But the lands between understands something different. It understands that rest is part of the journey itself, that the pauses are not the opposite of progress. They are the prerequisite for it. Imagine yourself at a site of grace now. Your legs are tired. You've been walking for a long time, through ruins and across fields, through forests where the trees seem to whisper warnings, and cities where the stone remembers a grandeur that no longer exists. You sit down at this glowing place. The light is warm around you. It asks nothing of you. It doesn't demand that you remember your purpose or renew your commitment or prepare yourself for the next struggle. It simply is there, and you are there. And for a moment, these two things exist together in peace. There's something deeply moving about that simplicity. Consider the concept of grace itself, actually. In the lore of the Elden Ring, grace is the light by which the god Marika granted order to the world. The Tarnished were bereft of grace, cast out and denied this divine favor. Throughout their journey, they're chasing grace. They're trying to reclaim it, or to claim it for the first time. But here's the thing that strikes me, and perhaps it will strike you too as you drift toward sleep. The sites of grace that the Tarnished find scattered throughout the lands between. These aren't signs of divine favor being returned. They're something older. They're remnants of a grace that existed before the Golden Order, perhaps. Or they're something new, something emerging from the cracks of the broken order. Either way, they're available to the Tarnished without condition, without the need to prove worthiness or to earn them through suffering. They're just there, offered freely. I think about the crafting in Elden Ring sometimes, and how peaceful that process is. You gather materials, flowers and mushrooms and pieces of bone. You sit somewhere quiet and you combine these disparate things into something new. A potion that heals you. A thrown item that might help you in the next battle. An arrow, a bomb, some small tool that will make your journey a bit easier. There's something about this process that mirrors the way life actually works, doesn't it? We gather experiences. We accumulate small moments and relationships and observations. We combine them in ways that make sense to us. We create our own tools for moving forward. None of this happens through grand, dramatic gestures. Most of it happens quietly, in spaces between the moments we think matter. You know what the most beautiful location in the lands between might be? The Mogwin Dynasty Mausoleum. No, not for the violence that dwells there or the legacy of ambition. I'm thinking specifically of the platform outside, the one that overlooks a vast underground lake of blood. It's a terrible image when you think about it. A lake of blood, the symbol of all the violence and sacrifice that built the dynasty. Yet from a visual perspective, the way the designers arranged it, the way light falls upon that lake, the way the architecture frames the vast emptiness, it's strangely beautiful. It's the kind of place where you'd want to sit quietly and think about mortality and legacy and what it means to build something that will inevitably fall to ruin. There's a lesson in that too. That beauty and horror are often very close to one another. That the same object can be terrible and profound depending on how you're choosing to look at it. That ruin and decay and ending are not necessarily evil things. They're transitions. They're transformations. They're the way nature reclaims what was built against its will. Look at the Scarlet Rot, for example. Throughout the game, the Scarlet Rot is presented as a corruption, an infection, something that destroys and taints everything it touches. And it is those things. But it's also a form of life. It's a force of nature expressing itself, even if that expression is terrible and wild and incompatible with the Golden Order. Melania, the Blade of Miquella, carries the Scarlet Rot within her. She's been fighting against it her entire life, trying to be perfect despite the rot consuming her from within. She's a perfect warrior, undefeated, carrying an infection that she can never fully overcome. In a strange way, she embodies the conflict at the heart of the lands between. The attempt to maintain order and perfection in the face of forces that will inevitably break that order. But what if we approached things differently? What if, instead of fighting against entropy and decay and change, we simply accepted them? What if we understood that breaking is not failure but transition? That an ending is not tragedy but transformation? There are characters in Elden Ring who seem to have found something like peace, or at least a kind of acceptance. The Two Fingers, those mysterious beings that guide the world, exist in a state of perfect stillness. The Erd Tree, the symbol of the Golden Order itself, stands at the heart of everything, unchanging and eternal, asking nothing of anyone and offering nothing but shade. And then there's Melina, the spirit who guides the Tarnished through their journey. She speaks of the Erd Tree with something that sounds like love, but also with something that sounds like resignation. She will help you reach the Erd Tree. She will help you become Elden Lord or follow whatever path you choose. But she does all this with a kind of weary acceptance, as if she understands that whatever comes next, it will be different from what came before, and that difference is inevitable and perhaps even necessary. There's wisdom in that weariness, isn't there? not cynicism, but something deeper. An understanding that nothing lasts forever, that even the most carefully constructed orders will eventually fall, that we are not meant to be eternal, and there is something almost peaceful in accepting that limitation. You're still sitting at a site of grace, remember. Your journey has been long. You've seen terrible things and done terrible things. You've climbed mountains and descended into depths. You've fought creatures that defied comprehension and defeated demigods who thought themselves unreachable. You've challenged the very structure of reality, and now you rest. The light of the grace is warm around you. Your breathing slows. Your muscles relax. For the first time in a long time, you're not thinking about the next challenge or the next goal. You're just here, present, alive, resting. And there's a profound rightness to that. One of the most beautiful things about the Lands Between is that it contains multitudes. It's a world where different ages exist simultaneously. You can walk from a modern-looking city into ancient ruins. You can journey from fertile fields into deadlands where time seems to have stopped centuries ago. You can descend into caverns where you find creatures from epochs long past, still going about their lives as if the world above hasn't changed. It's chaotic from a logical perspective. How can all these different time periods and styles coexist? But from an emotional perspective, it's perfect. Because that's exactly what the human experience is like, isn't it? We carry within us the child we were and the adult we've become, and the old person we might become. We live in the modern world but carry traditions from centuries past. We hold beliefs that contradict one another and somehow manage to make them work. The Lands Between don't try to smooth over these contradictions. It embraces them. There are places in the world where you can find messages left by other players, little notes that appear on the ground in cryptic symbols. Some of them are helpful. Beware of the night ahead. Secret passage beyond the wall. Others are just observations. Beautiful view from here. Sometimes they're jokes. Try poisoning but whole. They're small acts of communion across the internet. Players scattered across the globe, connected by nothing but the game, leaving tiny gifts of information or encouragement or humor for strangers they'll never meet. It's a form of grace, isn't it? Not a divine one, but a human one. A recognition that we're all out here trying to navigate difficult spaces, and sometimes the smallest gesture of help or kindness or shared laughter can make the journey a bit easier. There are also bloodstains scattered throughout the Lands Between, visual records of the deaths of other players. You can watch them, and you see the final moments of someone's journey in that location. Sometimes it's a grave error, a silly death that makes you smile a bit. Sometimes it's a death to an impossible boss, someone fighting their absolute hardest and losing. Sometimes it's a death to falling off a cliff or getting crushed by a trap. Each one is a tiny story. A moment of someone's failure or mistake or misfortune, preserved and replayed for strangers. It's oddly profound when you think about it. In multiplayer gaming, we usually see people succeed. We see victories, we see triumphs. But here, we see deaths, we see failures. And somehow, that creates a sense of community. A recognition that everyone struggles, everyone fails, everyone dies. And that's okay. You know what's remarkable? The most common summoning signs in Elden Ring are left not at the hardest bosses, but at the smallest, most trivial enemies. New players, clearly new to the game, are out here trying to help people defeat rats and jellyfish and the weakest creatures in the entire world. They're not trying to show off their skills or prove their mastery. They're just trying to help. They're trying to be useful to someone. That's where genuine community lives. Not in the big moments or the flashy victories, but in the small, quiet acts of service. Let's think about the concept of grace again, but differently this time. In religious traditions, grace is often understood as an unmerited gift from a divine being. You don't deserve it. You can't earn it. It's offered to you freely, often when you need it most. The Tarnished are bereft of grace. They exist outside the divine order. They're not supposed to matter. Yet they persist. They journey. They grow stronger. And eventually, they reach the goal they've been seeking. They become Elden Lord, or they reshape the order, or they do whatever the ending of their story requires. This is the ultimate grace, isn't it? The chance to matter anyway. The opportunity to exist and make choices and affect the world, even when you were told that you shouldn't. Even when you were cast out and deemed unworthy. We all feel a bit like Tarnished sometimes, don't we? We all have moments where we feel like we're on the outside looking in, where we feel like we're not enough, not worthy, not meant to be remembered or to matter. And sometimes we are told that explicitly. Sometimes people or systems or circumstances tell us that we don't belong, but we persist anyway. We show up, we try, we learn, we grow, we make choices. We affect the world around us in small ways and large ways. And that mattering, that persistence despite being told we don't belong. That's the most powerful kind of grace. Not one that's given to us by others, but one that we create for ourselves through the simple act of continuing to exist and to fight and to care. Imagine that you're walking through the Fara Missoula now, that floating city in the sky. Ancient architecture rising around you, wind whistling through broken towers, stone crumbling beneath your feet. This place has existed for ages. Civilizations have risen and fallen here. Yet it endures in ruins. You're moving through it slowly, not rushing toward the next fight or the next objective, just observing, noticing, taking in the details, the way the light falls through the broken walls, the way nature is beginning to reclaim the architecture, vines creeping up the stones, cracks widening, the whole structure slowly returning to the earth it came from. This is what the world looks like when you're not fighting against it, when you're not trying to impose your will upon it or make it conform to your vision, when you simply accept that everything is in a constant state of change. And that's not something to resist, but something to observe with peaceful acknowledgement. I think about the fell god sometimes, an entity mentioned in the lore, a god of destruction and death. At first, it seems evil, a destructive force. But if you think about it, destruction is natural. Entropy exists. Things break down. Things die. This isn't an aberration or an evil force. It's a fundamental law of the universe. The fell god represents not evil, but transition. Not cruelty, but change. Yet even this force was ordered and controlled by the Golden Order. Even destruction was supposed to follow the rules. What if instead we let destruction happen at its own pace? What if we accepted endings without fighting them? What if we moved through the world understanding that we're part of a vast process of breaking down and building up? And that our job isn't to impose order on that process, but to find our own place within it. There's a character called the Fire Giant, an enormous being that guards a forge. It's encountered as a boss, which means it's presented as an obstacle to be overcome. But the Fire Giant is also just a creature living in the world, doing what it was made to do. It's protecting something. It's fulfilling a function. The conflict only arises because the Tarnished's goals conflict with the Fire Giant's purpose. Everywhere in the lands between, you find these conflicts, not because anyone is evil, but because different beings have different purposes, and those purposes don't always align. Marika had a vision for the world. The demigods had visions. The Tarnished has a vision. And these visions crash into one another like waves. There's no resolution to this that doesn't involve someone's vision being undone. No perfect answer. Just different ways of organizing the world, each with their own beauty and their own cost. Sometimes I wonder what the world of Elden Ring would look like if everyone just stopped. If all the demigods and all the ambitious beings just decided to rest, to accept the world as it is without trying to reshape it according to their vision. What would that world look like? I think it would look like the lands between when you're alone in it. Peaceful, wild, indifferent, beautiful, in a way that has nothing to do with order or perfection. You know what's interesting? The game never actually tells you that you have to become Elden Lord. It never forces a particular ending. You can complete the game in several different ways, pursuing different endings depending on who you've been listening to and what you believe. One path leads to you becoming Elden Lord and taking your place in the Order. Another leads to you burning the Erd Tree down. Another leads to you spreading the Scarlet Rot. Another leads to you spreading the Scarlet Rot. Another leads to you becoming something entirely new, outside the established order. There's freedom in that choice. And freedom, I think, is what the Tarnished is really seeking. Not power, not dominion, but the ability to choose what comes next. To shape their own ending rather than having it imposed upon them. And maybe that's the deepest message of the Lands Between. That the goal isn't perfection or eternal order or any grand design. The goal is the freedom to choose, the ability to matter and to make choices and to be accountable for those choices. Everything else is secondary. You're very tired now. Your eyes are growing heavy. The sight of grace you've been resting at feels more and more real. The light is warm. Your breathing is slow. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to accomplish. There's a peace in that, a real peace. Not the absence of conflict or struggle, but the acceptance that you've done what you could. You've journeyed, you've fought, you've learned, you've grown, and now you're resting. And that rest is deserved and necessary and good. Let yourself drift now. Let your mind wander through the Lands Between. Not toward the next battle or the next goal, but just through it. Through the fields you've walked, and the ruins you've seen, and the people you've met along the way. Each memory a small grace, each moment a gift. You're safe here. In this imagined place where time moves slowly and nothing demands anything of you. Just rest, just be. When you wake, the world will still be there waiting for you. Your challenges will still be there. Your ambitions and your struggles and your attempts to matter in a world that rarely asks you to. But for now, just rest. Sleep well.